Welcome back to the last episode on the lockdown series on my riding gear. Today we're talking about my helmet, and first I'd like to start off with a helmet that I crashed with. Yesterday I showed you my Xo jacket that I crashed with in 2005, and this is the helmet that I crashed with in 2005. It's a Shark RSX helmet. I think I still got this helmet from Peter Marshall in Pinetown, and you can see, this helmet. It's not an entry-level helmet. It's also not really a mid-range. Back then, it was quite a helmet, and you could see on the back, on closer inspection, I can take photographs and show that to you guys. But the back took such an impact that this fiberglass crushed like a boiled eggshell. Yes, that crash knocked me silly for 15-20 minutes. I was knocked out, unconscious, and yes, I stood up and I walked away. A little bit confused because I still couldn't believe it was my own crash. But this helmet really saved my head. That's one thing I do not compromise on as far as helmets are concerned, is try and go buy something cheap and nasty. I've seen so many guys, riders out there, when they buy a bike and the bike is 200,000-300,000 rand, and they put a silly little thing on their head that's not even worth the amount of grey matter they have between their ears. So when it comes to helmets, you cannot compromise. Now, I'm not going to go into the technical stuff about this particular helmet and the others that I have around me, but really, when you buy a helmet, get something decent. This is the Shark RSX, or it was. It was hit so bad on the back, and I ended up skidding and ended up on my face. The scratch marks is all around the front of the visor, the front of the helmet as well. And if I had something on like an open face or one of those little spitball helmets, then I would have probably had a face like the Simpsons, where my bottom jaw was probably completely gone. So I don't compromise as far as helmets are concerned. You need to get the best helmet that you can afford to buy, and there are ways to get decent helmets when you finance a bike. To speak to your dealers, but really do not compromise on a helmet. It's your head, and you only have one head. If your head goes, your whole body is beyond function. Then after that, I had a Shark RSI helmet. I gave that away to a friend of mine shortly after I had it, and then years gone by, I had other helmets in between. And then quite a few years ago, when I was still riding on sport bikes, I bought myself this Shark, what is this? The Shark Squall helmet. The one with the LEDs in the back. You can charge it up and you can have LEDs in the back when you're riding at night. Also, for me, it was quite a nice helmet. We had some issues in the beginning, and quite a few of you guys with the same helmet, the Shark Squall, had issues with the visor where it would break here. And the guys from Langston Racing, who imports Shark into the country, they swapped out the visor because the molding of the plastic on the side was a bit weak, and it kept on breaking. So this one is held up, and I also don't use this helmet anymore. I've passed it on to my son. And what I like about these helmets is the fact that a few things that I look at when I buy a helmet is obviously, number one, try and go full face, and that little chin piece there just helps you out with wind noise or coming into your helmet, just to make the helmet a little bit quieter than your average helmet. That little piece there on the front deflects your breathing away from the visor, so you don't fog up the visor if you don't have a pin lock added to the visor. And other added features, I like this little drop down tinted visor so that you can keep the main visor clear. Otherwise, you'd have to wear, if you don't have those things, a flip down tinted visor, you would have to wear a pair of shades. And I'm not really fond of wearing glasses along with my helmet, because in case of a crash, those lenses can cut into your face. So I'm not really fond of that. Luckily, I don't have to wear prescription glasses when I ride. So a drop down tinted visor is a plus for me. And the visor also needs to close properly and seal quite nicely on the opening, on the seal here. I mean, there are ways to test these things. You can look at the visor from the top when you close the visor and see if there's a gap between the visor itself and the rubber seal. And if there's a gap, we can always press the visor from the one side to the other side and see if a gap forms on the one side. And that could be that the visor doesn't fit the helmet shell properly. So there are a number of things you can go through when you look at buying a helmet. That's probably a discussion for another day. But when you buy a helmet, you need to take your time, because all our heads are shaped differently. Some have long heads, short heads, round heads or whatever, and some of us have double chins like I do. So it's all these things you need to take into account of, because if you buy the helmet and just fits you and you've got a piece of neck or chin sticking out the bottom, you know, some of us can't help that. So make sure that you take your time shopping for a helmet. It's really one of those items that you really have to take your time with. If you're not 100% happy, don't go for second prize and compromise. Keep on shopping until you find something. And I do definitely suggest that you try not to buy a helmet online. Go to a local dealer, fit the helmet properly, unless you have had the same helmet before and you're just buying a replacement. Fair enough, then buy it online if you have to. But try, as far as you can, go to a dealer and fit the helmet properly. And you need to make sure that it does push your cheeks in a little bit. And if you do go for a ride and you get a headache in about half an hour, the helmet is too tight. Yes, it does take shape around your head eventually, but don't let the helmet be too tight. And also, most importantly, don't let the helmet be too big. If the helmet is too big, it can really come off your head if you don't tie it up properly. And the mechanisms I like on most helmets, this one is the ratchet clip that Shark mainly comes with, and on the high-end helmets like this RSX, it's a double D. I prefer the double D above anything else. I really prefer the double D mechanism as far as tying your helmet to your head. So that's the Shark Squall, a very nice helmet. It really fitted me well, and again, I stopped using it because I stopped riding sport bikes. Right, then from there on, I went on to, let me just show you about this open face helmet that I've got. This is a Zeus open face helmet that I got from, I think, East Coast Motorcycles as well, from Ati, when they still around. This I mainly use, or only use, when I'm busy training and I'm giving instruction. It makes it easier for me when I do demonstrations, that I can talk to people at the same time without having to take the helmet off every time. So that's just for my slower speed demonstrations when I'm busy conducting training courses, that I use this helmet. And this helmet on the inside has the same characteristics as the Shark RSX. It's got ribbed comfort padding, and what the ribbed comfort padding does is when you have impact on any side of the helmet, it collapses like a crumple zone and it protects your head. I'm not really fond of just one piece of solid comfort padding around your head. It needs to interlock, because all of that creates a crumple zone and it locks in around your head and protects your head in case of an impact. So that's the only reason why I would use an open face like this. And yes, during that time, I'll wear glasses, because this one doesn't come with a drop-down visor. But I specifically went with the Zeus one because the back of the helmet drops quite low behind my head, and that's what I like. I like the back. It's almost like you can't replace a Liat brace. And if you do ride with one, keep on doing what you're doing. And for those who are considering wearing Liat braces, there are quite a few. Liat does one, Alpine Star does one. If you want to, you're considering wearing a Liat brace, absolutely go for that. I would not stop you, because that's a fantastic mechanism to keep your head from slapping back when you're involved in a crash. So open face, yes, if you have to go that way, remember that you exposed the bottom part of your face. If you don't have a visor, your whole front part of your face, and if you come off a bike, your whole front part of your face will be exposed to whatever you crash into. So really consider going with either a flip-up helmet, a modular helmet. I don't have one of those, but quite a few friends of mine ride with them. And yes, that's quite nice and functional. When you flip it up, you can quickly have a cold drink. And for those who smoke, yes, you don't have to take the helmet off to take a smoke quickly. But I wouldn't. I prefer a solid frame, full face helmet. Then I went and I got a Desert Fox from Bike Gear and PE. I had it for a short while. I liked the helmet in the beginning, and from my other helmet, I don't have it here with me, the UVX, it has a slightly tint on the visor, which helps with when you're riding in sun and so on. But this Desert Fox doesn't have any tint on the visor. I'm not sure if you can get it as an option, but there's no drop-down tinted visor either. And yes, it's also because of the shape of my head. I found the front part of the helmet quite hard after a long day of riding, like when I came back from Polokwane down to Durban. I rode 900 and something Ks in a day. I left 6 o'clock, got here at 2:30 in the afternoon, and yes, about 3 times on that trip there, this helmet really started to tell my forehead that we're not very fond of each other. So, but otherwise, nothing wrong with this helmet. It's about 2,600 or call it 3,000 rand again for this helmet. Yeah, I had nothing against the helmet. It's just, yeah, that's just something I got. It looked quite nice, and I wanted to support the guys from Bike Gear and PE, and yes, I got this helmet. All right, then again, because I wanted to get something better, I'm always looking for something better to put on my head, and I started looking again, and again I looked at the guys from Spirit on their helmets. Some are very happy with their helmets. I thought, well, let me explore that avenue, and I got myself this Spirit helmet, also an adventure helmet, because I don't ride sport bike that much anymore at all, and I decided to get this one because of the ECE standard that it adheres to. ECE is an ECR 2205R, the standard that it adheres to. I'm not all for a helmet that only adheres to like the DOT regulations or standards. DOT, my book, is dated, and there are quite a few little spitball helmets that even has a DOT sticker on the back, so I'm not sure how that passes. But yeah, anyway, so this helmet, I got this particularly because it has the back comes in lower for me, again lower behind my head, and the ergonomics of this helmet look quite nice. And yes, you can get a pin lock as an option on this one, where with the Desert Fox there's no pin lock option on this helmet. And I also felt that the Desert Fox was a little bit too close to my mouth, where this one is a little bit further away. And yes, you can also configure this helmet, take the peak off, take the visor off, put goggles on, any way you like it. And it does have a tinted visor that you can flip down. And that to me is a plus. Really, it's a plus because of the main visor not being a tint. I decided to go with something where you can flip a tinted visor down, and if you're riding into town, you can flip the main visor up to get some extra air in, but still keep your eyes covered in case of a bug or whatever gets to your head. So that's a plus to me. I really went out looking for something, again, something affordable, because I'm on an extremely tight budget and I'm not sponsored. Like I said yesterday, I'm not sponsored from head to toe, but I went for something that looked good and hopefully would feel good. Tinted visor, pin lock on the main visor, and the peak can only adjust a little bit. In other words, slightly forwards to get more sun out of your eyes, but you have the tinted visor, so that shouldn't really be a worry. The one restriction I would say on this particular helmet is, on all my other helmets, I had my Sina 10C Bluetooth headset video cam on all my helmets fitted. On this one, it'll be a little bit of a challenge because of the curve on the side of the helmet. I'm not sure how that unit will fit, so I will probably leave it on the Desert Fox if I wanted to go and shoot road videos while riding, like you've seen on our YouTube channel, and let's leave this one for my training trips and touring and so on. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell again, folks. Helmets, please, yeah, take your time. This one comes with a ratchet clip as well. Plastic to metal, not really fond of that, but I like how the padding comes around your face and tucks in under your jawbone. It should be a nice, fairly quiet helmet. Because I've looked at how the visor closes on the seal around the opening in the helmet. It seals quite nicely, and the padding around the neck here comes in right behind the head, and it tucks, almost like your head tucks in quite nicely, where with other helmets it's almost like it's an open hole, and it doesn't really tuck your head in quite nicely. I'm not slamming this brand, please don't get me wrong. It's just there's always something better that suits you, that suits the other guy, suits me. suits your sister and your mother and whatever. So really take your time when you shop for helmets. It's really worth it. The Desert Fox also come with a ratchet clip. So yeah, that's about it, folks. Thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys watching the videos and supporting us during this time. I know we had a bombshell dropped on us yesterday with our president telling that we're extending the lockdown period with another 2 weeks. We all have to deal with that. I'm not going to go into that because that might be another half an hour of talk, and that's not the subject of this video series. So yes, if you need any information about these helmets, what I'll do is, again, I'll put the links to the helmets, mainly the Shark, because Zeus is not available in the country anymore, I believe. So I'll put the link to the Shark helmets on the description. I'll put the link to the Desert Fox on the description, and also the link to this Spirit helmet in the description, so that you can go and have a look at pricing and do your own little investigation as to if you're shopping for a helmet, then one of these might be an option for you if you're riding adventure. If you have a helmet that you wear and you believe it to be the best one for you, please comment below and let us know why you think your helmet or your jacket or your gloves or whatever is the best. Let us know what you wear, why you wear it, and the pros and cons, experiences you've had with your helmet in the past. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please stay safe again. Try your best to stay healthy, and here's to another 3 weeks of lockdown until freedom grabs us by the head and runs with us down the freeway. Looking forward to that one. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.